done. And taking a look at Miles Onyebuye right there and trying to catch tennis balls. Now, we've seen some interesting drills here, Ahmad. Clearly, the Texas coaching staff wants to see more consistency with the hands. Does this help?
You better believe it. And what I love about this drill is there can always be competition built in it. You better believe that Darius White and Mike Davis here and Jackson Shipley are competing. And somewhere in their room, I guarantee you there's a chart keeping a total of how many you catch. And you can see Marquise
Goodwin was acting like that was nothing.
Indeed it is. And you know what this teaches is if you can catch a tennis ball, now because they have a lot of different ways they teach you to catch a football. Some people tell you to look at the X as it's coming towards you. This here is just, you know, it's much like a Brazilian soccer ball. If you're a soccer fan, they use the smaller balls there in Brazil. And when they get the size 5 soccer ball, it makes it so much easier to play the game. Catching a football after catching a tennis ball, KD, really heightens your awareness. But
Whoa,
that time coming off the helmet of...
That was Roger Federer right there.
Indeed. But this is just a great drill and something that has been added just here in the last few weeks, going to show you once again this coaching staff working really hard to keep their players motivated, but also on the cutting edge of training.
Well, one of the reasons they're doing that, they do want to see more consistency. Mack Brown talked about it on Monday from really the second team unit. Mike Davis has been very good, especially going deep. As you see, 192 yards, that leads the Horns this year. Has not gotten in the end zone. Jackson Shipley has once on that John Harris touchdown pass against Rice. He's been a great third down receiver. DJ Grant, the breakout game against UCLA. Fozzie Whitaker, we've seen him out of the backfield make some plays. Darius White is a guy with DJ Monroe. You'd like to see them maybe get them as many touches as they can, but it's up to those guys to also fulfill their end of the bargain. Now, DJ Monroe's a guy I know that early on they wanted to get touches. How important is it to get him in space against this Iowa State defense?
Well, I think anytime you can, you'll see the benefit of it. This young man has electric stuff, and when he is in the open field, he uses that track speed that he has. He's a world-class sprinter, runs on the 4x1 here for the University of Texas track program. In addition to that, he's a guy that can make you miss, and because you see all of those people above him, Mike Davis, Jackson Shipley, DJ Grant, Fozzie, Darius, those are all guys that want touches, and there just aren't enough balls sometimes to get around. But DJ Monroe is a player that this offensive staff is constantly trying to get involved.
You see J.P. Floyd and the quarterbacks with their typical drill trying to fit it into that tight window. Yes, you did see number 81, Miles Onyebuye, who is a wide receiver but has played some quarterback in his past and is a guy who you could see if Texas needs that emergency quarterback. We saw yesterday Michael Thompson, who's a defensive back but was a very athletic quarterback in high school. And you actually saw Michael play in high school. And, you know, clearly he's not going to be at the level right now of the quarterbacks that have been going through drills and recruited to play that. But you think he can throw the rock a little bit?
Well, I think with his combined with his running ability, he's going to force teams to come in and expect him to run the football. And, you know, you never know what you expect to see, but this Texas staff, I can guarantee you, will not be caught off guard, considering you have a quarterback that drops off and he's out for the year. Of course, Garrett Gilbert. So what they're doing now is just trying, and I guarantee you they have a list of options that they will actually try. And because this young man was only playing quarterback just a season ago, you have to believe that it'd be a lot easier to train him and to get him more comfortable. And here's another young man that they feel the same way about. He's got great size, and now he actually, in my opinion, throws the football just a little bit better than Thompson, but I don't think he's as athletic with the football. So you have a few different options, but by far, this Texas staff will be prepared for their next move.
Well, John Paul Floyd is listed as the third-team quarterback, but they want to make sure that they are prepared if need be. Case McCoy and Ash go into the depth chart as split starters. Really, depending on what package they come out with is who you're going to see. You would expect to see McCoy, but I wouldn't expect anything from this Harsin Applewhite offense. I think that is part of the beauty of this offense is they will play on what you think their tendencies are. There's sophomore Case McCoy, and we can take a look at what Case McCoy was able to do against UCLA. Great numbers.
And he's just going to continue to get better. Case McCoy, we've talked about his composure, his poise, his accuracy. The one thing that you want to see out of this young man is you want to see him constantly improve, KD. You hope that because he's had success in his first 2 games. Look, the bottom line is this. Every great quarterback that's ever played here has had a slump and struggled. You look at Colt McCoy's sophomore year. You look at Vince Young's sophomore year. Sometimes you struggle. How will he respond when he has a game that's not so good? Can he gut it out in the fourth quarter, so to speak, to still lead his team to a victory? And I think that's going to be very important down the road for this young man because he's had so much success early on.
Also, we've seen a lot of off-schedule plays with Case McCoy in that he's bouncing around, but it's obviously something that you want to see if maybe he can make some plays down the field and also not be so off schedule, which is really what we've seen so far. I know Texas fans have been talking about that. Case McCoy, 12 for 15, as you take a look at what he's done against UCLA. 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, great passer efficiency, but it was also a very protected game for Case McCoy in terms of the game plan. Do you expect to see that as well?
Well, they're going to open it up, and I think now when you see conference play, it's always an opportunity to show things that you haven't shown before, which is really scary from this Texas offense. You can imagine teams around the Big 12 are trembling right now because Texas has already shown you an array of plays they've never done in the last 10 years. So I think now teams are going to have to prepare. Iowa State has no idea what to expect on Saturday, and that's what you got to love early on about this Brian Harsin, Major Applewhite offense. They've done a nice job of diversifying it, get other guys touching the football. And it's really, on this Iowa State defense, a lot of pressure.
Right. As you see a ball security drill here, Coach Darrell Wyatt, the wide receivers coach. This looks like a fun drill, as we've talked about a lot, but there is actually something to learn out of this.
Well, of course it is, and particularly for your running backs or wide receivers who are going to make that last-ditch effort to try to get into the end zone. And you think about defensive backs and linebackers that are chasing them down, defensive linemen. You're taught at that goal line to try to get that ball out if you possibly can. And right here you see quarterbacks. You know, never know on a 4th and 1. David Ash may have to go over the top on a quarterback draw.
He's a guy you could see going over the top.
He could do it,
right? With all the zone reads and he's pulling the ball out and just trying to get you see that so much on 3rd and 2.
Yep. So this is just a great way here, and you know, and it's a fun drill as you mentioned. It's
got tight ends in it too.
Yeah, everybody, wide receivers, running backs, and Coach Wyatt there making sure he gives a whack for them to remember for sure.
Darrell Wyatt, one of the new coaches here. If you talk to the wide receivers, they really enjoy playing for this guy. He's someone that is going to work them hard but has their best interest. And you know, one thing you talked about before practice, you talked about it with Dwayne Aquina. It's really nice to see coaches that will focus on every single person there, not just the big star. And if you're a young guy, obviously there's a lot of room for improvement, and Wyatt's one of those guys. You see him working before practice, after practice with almost everybody.
The development of a young man is so vital to the success of this football program, and you're right, there are some coaches around the country that coach a group of players and don't necessarily coach the individuals. The one thing that you see about this staff that has changed in the last several months is they coach individuals. They go specifically to the things that you need to do, and they coach you on those. And it makes you feel more comfortable and more warm, so to speak, with a guy who's like your father. While you're here at the University of Texas, you spend a lot of time in the meeting room, on the practice field, then you go back into the meeting room. And these men, these coaches have a ton of impact on a young man's life. And so it is great to get to know them on a personal level, and this staff has done a great job of that.
Well, you saw the American Gladiators blue pads there as we take a look at the Longhorns' first 3 games, the last 2 seasons. Texas 3-0 both years, but rushing the ball has really been the big difference. Texas was a focal point to rush the football this season. They've been able to do that so far. They've also been very good in the red zone, something Ahmad has definitely talked about. Also, 3rd down conversions has been different so far this year. You're watching Texas practice here on Longhorn Network. Good shot of DKR. Texas won't be back till October 15th. We'll be back right after this.